welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step this beautiful virus grind shawl. Their measurements are approximately 160 centimeters wide and 90 centimeters long. I used a total of one ball, which is 1050 meters, and it's 4-ply. Now let's see the materials that I used and how to start our shawl. The yarn that I'm going to use is from MagicYarnBall. It's 1050 meters, 4-ply, and the name of the yarn is Earthly Rose. Now, if you decide to order from the store, it's here in Greece. You can pick any color that you want, and Jenna will make your own MagicYarnBall. You can choose the total number of yards and the colors starting from the center and going outwards. This yarn, I have picked the colors and also the name, which I have called it Earthly Rose. And I'm going to crochet with a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, this yarn is 50% acrylic and 50% cotton, which means that you can make crochet projects for all 4 seasons. And you can crochet almost anything with these yarns. You can make shawls, you can make blankets, you can make shirts. So now we're gonna start and we're gonna see how to crochet the virus grind shawl. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's start. I'm gonna start with my beginning knot. And I'm going to chain 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my hook in the first chain that I made, and I'm going to work a slip stitch. And I have a big ring. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crochet in the center of the circle. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and those 3 chains count as my first double crochet. I'm going to crochet 19 more in the center of the circle, so I'm going to have a total of 20 double crochet in row number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and my last double crochet 20. Okay, so this is row number 1. I'm going to go ahead and just open up a little bit my double crochet. Okay, now I'm going to start row number 2, in which I'm going to work 1 double crochet on top of every double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. So I'm going to start with 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, where the first 3 chains count as my first double crochet, and the 4th chain is my chain 1 space. So yarn over once and turn your work. I am not going to crochet in the first stitch because the 3 chains count as my first double crochet. So put your hook in the second stitch and work your second double crochet. Chain 1, work a double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. So if you're afraid that you're going to lose your stitches, you can count the double crochet that you crochet, and they have to be 20 in the end of the row. Okay, so double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet. Now this might seem as if it is the last stitch for the row, the double crochet that I just crocheted into, but make sure you do not lose the last stitch of every row, which is the chain 3 that we crochet in the beginning of the row. Okay, those 3 chains count as my first double crochet of every row, so make sure you don't lose the stitch in the end of every row. So chain 1, and counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in that 3rd chain. And work your last double crochet, the 20th stitch for this row. Okay, so this is how row number 2 looks like. Now we're going to start row number 3, in which we're going to work again 1 double crochet on top of every double crochet. So I'm going to have 20 stitches in the end, but this time we're going to have a chain 2 space in between of every double crochet. So I'm going to start by chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 3 chains are my first double crochet, and the next 2 chains are my chain 2 space. So yarn over once. Do not crochet in the first stitch because the chain 3 count as my first stitch. Put your hook in the second stitch and double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next stitch. Okay, and continue working 1 double crochet on top of each double crochet with a chain 2 space in between. Now once I crochet on the second before last double crochet over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish row number 3 and how to start row number 4. I have worked in the second before last double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to skip the first chain and put my hook in the second chain to work the last double crochet for row number 3. Now the second chain is the same thing as counting from the bottom to the top and putting your hook in the third chain. It's the same exact thing. So we're not counting every time from the bottom to the top 3 chains. Okay, just skip the first chain and put your hook in the second and work the last double crochet for this row. So this is how our work looks like when we have finished row number 3. Okay, now we're going to start row number 4. So every time, what I forgot to mention, that every time that we reach the spot where we crochet the 2 chains in between the double crochet, this means that the repetitions for the big shell, for the virus part over here, have ended. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start row number 4, but before I continue, what I forgot to show in the beginning, because I'm going to have this chart in the beginning of the video and also in my Facebook page, right here we see this upside down question mark on row number 3 on every double crochet. This means that these are front post double crochet, and right here the upside down question mark that's looking to the right are back post double crochet. The difference between the chart and what I'm crocheting is that I'm not working front posts or back posts. Okay, I do not want to have that 3D look, that outline on my double crochet, so I'm crocheting regularly on every stitch. And the other difference between the chart and how I'm crocheting is that the chart in the beginning of every row that has to do with double crochet, it starts with 4 chains. 4 chains count for a triple crochet, so I'm always starting with 3 chains every row that count as a double crochet. Okay, so those are the differences between the chart and the way that I'm crocheting. Now let's start row number 4 by chaining 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Turn your work, skip the first chain 2 space and put your hook under the second and work a single crochet. Now every time I'm starting the repetitions for the shells, for the virus stitch, I need to have a total of 3 chain 8 spaces, then in the next row 2 chain 8 spaces, and then in the last row I'm going to have 1 chain 8 space. So in order to work my chain 8 spaces, I'm going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work a single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work a single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work a single crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3 chain 2 spaces, and I'm going to put my hook in the 4th chain 2 space, and I'm going to work a single crochet. Now this is the center of my shawl, the point that's going to look down when I wear the shawl. Okay, so this is right here is going to be the center. So whatever I do before the center of the shawl, I want to follow the same exact steps after the center of the shawl. So again, I want to create my 3 chain 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second and work a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the second, chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the second, chain 2 space. Okay, so again I have my 3 chain 8 spaces, and I want to finish the row the same way I started. Right here I started with 10 chains. The first 4 count as a triple crochet, and the next 6 chains count as a chain 6 space. So I'm going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to work a triple crochet on top of the last double crochet for this row. So I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to count from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to put my hook in the third chain, and I'm going to work a triple crochet. So grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, grab yarn, pull through the next 2 loops, grab the yarn, pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, so this is how row number 4 looks like. Now we're going to go ahead and start row number 5. I'm going to start row number 5 by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, which they count as my first double crochet, and I'm going to turn my work. Now under the chain 6 space I'm going to work 9 more double crochet plus the chain 3 in the beginning. I'm going to have 10 double crochet to begin with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now put your hook under the first chain 8 space and single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, oops, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and single crochet under the next chain 8 space. Again, chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and single crochet under the next chain 8 space. And as I mentioned earlier, in the previous row we had 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. In this row we have 1, 2. So right after you work the single crochet in the third chain 8 space over here, go right ahead in the chain 10 space and work 20 double crochet. Now this again is the center of my shawl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So 20 double crochet under the chain 10 space. Now I'm going to go right ahead, and whatever I did before the center of the shawl, I want to do after as well. So go ahead in the first chain 8 space and work 1 single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the next chain 8 space. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the next chain 8 space. So again over here we're left with 2 chain 8 spaces. Now after you crochet your single crochet under the last chain 8 space over here, go right ahead in the chain space in the end and work your 10 double crochet. Now as I mentioned earlier, the 4 out of the 10 chains that I had worked in the beginning, the first 4 chains counted as a triple crochet, and the next 6 chains were a chain 6 space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 9 double crochet under the chain 6 space, and I'm going to work my last double crochet counting from the bottom to the top on the 4th stitch, which is the triple crochet in the end. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and my 10th stitch I'm going to count from the bottom to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet in that 4th stitch, in that 4th chain. So again I have my 10 double crochet as I have in the beginning of the row. See, this is the end of row number 5. Now we're going to start row number 6, and we're going to start by chaining 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which those 4 chains count as my first double crochet and my chain 1 space. Turn your work. So I'm not going to crochet in the first stitch because those 3 chains count as my first double crochet. Start crocheting from the 2nd stitch. 2. So in this row what we're doing is we're crocheting 1 double crochet on top of each stitch with a chain 1 space in between. So this was my 2nd double crochet. Chain 1, 3, chain 1, 4, chain 1, 5, chain 1, 6, chain 1, 7, chain 1, 8, chain 1, 9, chain 1, and on top of the last double crochet 10. After the last double crochet I'm also going to chain 1, put your hook under the first chain 8 space and single crochet, chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, put your hook under the 2nd, which is under the next chain 8 space, which is the last one as well. Okay, and work a single crochet. So in this row I'm left with only 1 chain 8 space. I'm going to chain 1 after the single crochet that I work on top of the last chain 8 space, and I'm going to go in the center of my shawl, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet on top of each of the 20 stitches with a chain 1 space in between. So start from the first stitch, 1, chain 1, 2, chain 1, 3, chain 1, 4, chain 1, 5, chain 1, 6, chain 1, 7, chain 1, 8, chain 1, 9, chain 1, 10, chain 1, 11, chain 1, 12, chain 1, 13, chain 1, 14, chain 1, 15, chain 1, 16, chain 1, 17, chain 1, 18, chain 1, 19, chain 1, and my last double crochet, 20. After the last double crochet, I also want to work a chain 1. Now put your hook under the first, chain 8, and work a single crochet, chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put your hook in the second, which is the last chain 8 space, the next chain 8 space right here, and work a single crochet. Chain 1 after the single crochet that you work in the last chain 8 space, okay? And finish the row by working 1 double crochet on top of the last 10 with a chain 1 space in between. Start from the first stitch, 1, chain 1, 2, chain 1, 3, chain 1, 4, chain 1, 5, chain 1, 6, chain 1, 7, chain 1, 8, chain 1, 9, chain 1, and my last double crochet, make sure you don't miss your last stitch, is the chain 3 that I work in the beginning of every row. So again, from the bottom to the top, put your hook in that third chain and work the last single crochet for this row. So this was the end of row number 6, and this is how our shawl looks like at this point. Okay, as we go through the next rows, our shawl is going to look better. So see how in the beginning we have 3 chain 8 spaces, then 2, and this row we have 1. So I go very thorough. I'm very thorough in the first rows because once I finish doing the repetitions for this part of the shells, in the next rows I'm only going to be doing the first half up until the center, and then the last half we're going to be working off camera. This is why I'm being so thorough in the first rows. Okay, so let's see how to start row number 7. So I'm going to start with 5 chains for row number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 chains count as 1 double crochet and a chain 2 space. Yarn over once, turn your work. We're not going to work in the first stitch because I have my chain 3. Start from the second stitch. Okay, so this is the second double crochet, 2, chain 2, next stitch, 3, chain 2, next stitch, 4, chain 2, 5, chain 2, 6, chain 2, 7, chain 2, 8, chain 2, 9, chain 2, and my last double crochet, 10. After the last double crochet, I also want to chain 2. Okay, so I'm going to put my hook under the chain 8 space, and this is the only chain 8 space that I have left. So put your hook under the chain 8 space, work a single crochet, and a chain 2 again after you work your single crochet. Okay, now I'm going to go right ahead in the center of my shawl because I only have one chain 8 space. I work chain 2, one single crochet, and 2 chains to leave the chain 8 space, and go right ahead in the center of the shawl to work my 20 stitches with a chain 2 space in between, starting from the first double crochet, 1, chain 2, next stitch, 2, chain 2, 3, chain 2, 4, chain 2, 5, chain 2, 6, chain 2, 7, chain 2, 8, chain 2, 9, chain 2, 10, chain 2, 11, chain 2, 12, chain 2, 13, chain 2, 14, chain 2, 15, chain 2, 16, chain 2, 17, chain 2, 18, chain 2, 19, chain 2, and my last double crochet, 20. So after the last double crochet, we also want to chain 2. Chain 2, single crochet in the one and only chain 8 space, leave here by chaining 2 again, and start working on top of the last shell your 10 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between, starting from the first double crochet, one, chain 2, 2, chain 2, 3, chain 2, 4, chain 2, 5, chain 2, 6, chain 2, 7, chain 2, 8, chain 2, 9, chain 2, and my last double crochet, counting from the bottom to the top. In the third double crochet, work your last double crochet for this row. And this is how my shawl looks like at this point. Now it might look kind of ugly, but once we complete the next rows, and especially when our shawl gets heavier and we hang it to hang down straight, you're going to see all those stitches are going to open up and look correctly as they should look like. Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, once I reach the spot where I work my double crochet with the chain 2 spaces, it's the end of the repetitions for the shells, and I'm going to start all over again with new repetitions. So in these rows of repetitions we have 1, 2, 3 big shells. Now I'm going to start my repetitions all over again, and I'm going to have a total of 5 shells throughout my project. Okay, so let's see how to start row number 8. Okay, so we're going to start row number 8 with 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and turn your work. Now, out of those 10 chains, the first 4 are my triple crochet, and the next 6 are a chain 6 space. The reason that I mention this is because the same way that I start my row, I want to finish in the same exact way. Okay, so let's start. Now, skip the first, chain 2 space, put your hook in the second, and work a single crochet. Now, after the chain 10 that I work in the beginning, I always want 3 chain 8 spaces. So chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the second and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain space, put your hook in the second one and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the second, and work a single crochet. So I have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now, as we continue and our project gets bigger, the rules that I'm going to mention now are going to apply for every new row that we're going to start all over again, okay? With our chains, in which what we're doing, we're only working chains and single crochet. So after every 3 chain 8 spaces, I'm going to work a shell. So for the shell, I need 10 chains. So chain 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. When you're working your 10 chains in between the project, we need to work a single crochet in the 5th chain 2 space. So 1, second chain 2 space, my single crochet, 3rd chain 2 space, this is the 3rd, 4th chain 2 space, and my 5th chain 2 space. So what we are really doing, we're skipping all of those chain 2 spaces from the one shell, and I'm going into the next shell and I'm crocheting in the 2nd chain 2 space of the next big shell. So again, count 1, 2, 3, the single crochet, 4, 5 chain 2 spaces and single crochet. Okay, so after those 10 chains, in which I'm going to work a shell in the next row, after every chain 10 space I want 3 chain 8 spaces. So I always separate each shell that I'm crocheting with 3 chain 8 spaces. So chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Skip the next chain 2 space, put your hook in the second one and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook in the second, and single crochet. So again, after the chain 10 in which I'm going to work a shell, I have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I have reached the center of my shawl. So again, I am going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And in this case, I'm going to work a single crochet in the fourth chain 2 space. So every time we're starting a new shell in between our shawl, I need to work a single crochet in the fifth chain 2 space. Only when I reach the center of the shawl, I work my single crochet in the fourth chain 2 space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and single crochet. So whatever I do in the first half of the shawl before the center, I want to follow the same steps after. So after the chain 10, which means I'm going to work the shell, I need 3 chain 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. So again, after the shell, I have 3 chain 8 spaces, and after the 3 chain 8 spaces, I always need a shell. So because I am in between, I'm going to work my 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I'm going to single crochet in the fifth chain 2 space. So 1, 2, the third chain 2, single crochet, fourth chain 2 space, and fifth chain 2 space right over here, and single crochet. So after the 10 chains, which means that I'm going to work a shell over here, again I need 3 chain 8 spaces. So chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, single crochet in the second chain 2 space. So again, after my shell, I have 3 chain 8 spaces, and I've reached the end of my project, in which I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to work a triple crochet on the last double crochet for this row. So counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in the third chain and work a triple crochet. Grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through the last 2. So this was the end of row number 8, in which I started my repetitions all over again. So I'm gonna go through one more time. We always start and finish our row in the same exact way. So the 4 chains count as my first triple, and the next 6 chains are my chain 6 space. So after the shell that I'm going to work in the beginning, I always need 3 chain 8 spaces. After the 3 chain 8, I need a shell, so I'm chaining 10. And because I'm in between my work, I'm crocheting my single crochet in the 5th chain 2 space. After every shell that I create, I need 3 chain 8 spaces in between. Once I reach the center of my shawl, I chain 10, so for every shell I always chain 10. But when I am in the center of my shawl, I single crochet in the 4th chain 2 space instead of the 5th that I work on the shells in between. And after every shell, again I need my 3 chain 8 spaces. After the 3 chain 8, I always need a shell, so I chain 10, single crochet in the 5th chain 2 space. After every shell, I need my 3 chain 8 spaces and finish with my shell right over here. So let's see how to start row number 9. Okay, so we're going to start row number 9 by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now those 3 chains count as my first double crochet, and I need 9 more in my first chain 6 space over here. So I'm going to have a total of 10 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So right after the first shell, we always go in the first chain 8 space and we single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the second chain 8 space. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the third chain 8 space. So out of the 3 chain 8 spaces that we had in the previous row, 1, 2, 3, we're only left with 2 chain 8 spaces in this row. So right after the single crochet that you work in the third chain 8 space, go right ahead under your chain 10 space and work your shell. So in every chain 10 space, we always work our shell. So work 10 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So after your 10 double crochet, go right ahead in the first chain 8 space and work a single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the second chain 8 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the third chain 8 space. So again, 8 and single crochet. Okay, so again, in this row, the 3 chain 8 spaces become 2. So after you work your single crochet under the third chain 8 space, we have reached the center of our shawl, in which we want to work 20 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I'm going to open up my double crochet a little bit. Okay, so after your 20 double crochet, go right ahead and single crochet in the first chain 8 space. Chain 8, single crochet in the second chain 8 space. Chain 8, single crochet in the third chain 8 space. So again, right here, you're going to have 2 chain 8 spaces. Once you work your single crochet in the third chain 8 space, go right ahead in the chain 10 space and work your 10 double crochet to form the shell. Once you work the 10 double crochet, go right ahead in the first chain 8 space and single crochet. Chain 8, single crochet in the second chain 8 space. Okay, chain 8, single crochet in the third chain 8 space. So again, here you're going to have 2 chain 8 spaces. Once you work your last single crochet in the third chain 8 space over here, okay, go right ahead in the chain 6 space and work 9 double crochet, and then counting from the bottom to the top, work your 10th double crochet in the 4th chain in the triple crochet. Okay, so you're gonna have 10 double crochet right here in the last chain 6 space right over here. Once I finish my row, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start row number 10. Now we're going to start row number 10, and as we did in row number 6, we're going to work 1 double crochet on top of each stitch with a chain 1 space in between. And in this row, we're going to have left only 1 chain 8 space throughout the row. Okay, so start by chaining 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn your work. Now those 4 chains count as 1 double crochet and a chain 1 space. So start by working from your second stitch, 2, and chain 1. Next stitch, 3, chain 1. Next stitch, 4, chain 1. 5, chain 1. 6, chain 1. 7, chain 1. 8, chain 1. 9, chain 1, and 10, and after your 10th stitch also chain 1. Put your hook under the first chain 8 space and single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet under the second and last chain 8 space. Now after your last single crochet in the chain 8 space, as you did after the last double crochet that you worked a chain 1, so after the chain 1 space, the single crochet, also chain 1. So you want to work as many chains after the last and before the first double crochet of the shells as you work in between the double crochet. So since here we're working only 1 chain 1 space after every double crochet, so after you finish your shell, chain 1, and before you start the new one, again chain 1. So just so I don't say chain 1 after every double crochet, you know that after every double crochet I always work a chain 1. So I'm only going to count the double crochet that I'm going to be working. Okay, 1, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So after your 10th stitch, again chain 1, single crochet in the first, chain 8 space, chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet under the second and last chain 8 space. So again we have only one chain 8 space left here. Chain 1 after your single crochet and go right ahead in the first double crochet, and we have reached the center where we're going to work 20 double crochet with a chain 1 space between every double crochet that we work. Okay, start from the first one. 1, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and the last stitch 20. Chain 1 after your last stitch and single crochet in the first chain 8 space. Chain 8, single crochet in the second and last chain 8 space. So again here you're left with one chain 8 space, single crochet, chain 1 after your last single crochet, work your 10 double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. After your 10th stitch, again chain 1, single crochet in the first chain 8 space, chain 8, single crochet in the second chain 8 space, chain 1 after your last single crochet, and work one double crochet in each of the last 10 stitches with a chain 1 space in between. And the last stitch that you're going to work is the chain 3 over here, counting from the bottom. Put your hook in the third chain and work your 10th double crochet. Once I finish row number 10, I'm going to turn my video back on to start row number 11. Now we're going to start row number 11, and we're going to crochet the same exact steps that we did in row number 7. So I'm going to start by chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn your work. Now those 5 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So in this row, I'm going to be working 1 double crochet on top of every stitch with a chain 2 space in between. Okay, I'm only going to be counting the double crochet. I'm not going to be mentioning the chain 2, but you know that after every double crochet, we're chaining 2, okay? So this is my first stitch. Start crocheting from the second double crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and my last double crochet for this shell, 10. After your 10th stitch, work 2 chains. Okay, so as many chains we work in between the double crochet, that's the number of chains that I want to work after my last stitch. So I've worked my last double crochet, chain 2, work 1 single crochet in the one and only chain 8 space. After the single crochet, chain 2, and go right ahead in the next shell and work 10 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between of every double crochet. So starting from the first stitch, 1, chain 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Chain 2 after your last stitch, single crochet in the one and only chain 8 space, chain 2 again to leave the single crochet, and go right ahead and work 20 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between. Okay, after your 20th stitch, chain 2, single crochet in the chain 8 space, chain 2, work 10 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between, chain 2 after your last double crochet, single crochet in the chain 8 space, chain 2, and work your last 10 double crochet for this row with a chain 2 space in between, and work your 10th and last double crochet in the third chain counting from the bottom. Once I finish row number 11, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start row number 12. I've completed row number 11, and this is how our project looks like at this point. So at first sight, it doesn't look as nice, okay? And it might get wiggly like this because we're crocheting too many stitches, too many double crochet, so this is why it's getting wiggly. As we go through the project and we crochet the rows with the granny stitch, the shawl is going to look better. Plus, in the end, when we finish the shawl, we're going to do the process of blocking, which is that you wet your shawl, you wet your project, and you pin it on a straight surface so it gets the final shape. So it's going to straighten out and it's going to look perfect. Okay, so don't get worried, don't frog your project if it looks like this. This is how it's going to look in the beginning. So now we're going to start row number 12, which is going to be the first row of the granny stitch. So from row 12 through row 18, we're going to be working the granny stitch, and from here on we're going to be working a total of 7 rows of the granny stitch after every time we finish the total number of repetitions for the virus stitch. Okay, so pay close attention because this is the only time that I'm going to show the repetitions for the granny stitch, and very important is the first row, the one that I'm going to start right now. Okay, so we always start with a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, which is my first double crochet, and turn your work. Now in the first chain 2 space, work a total of 2 double crochet. 1, 2. With the chain 3 that I have in the beginning, I have a total of 3 double crochet. Now chain 2, skip the first chain 2 space, go under the second chain 2 space and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Sorry. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the second, and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. So right here at this point I have completed working my granny stitch on top of my first big shell. So on top of every shell we are always going to have 5 sets of 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you crochet your 5 sets of 3 double crochet, you're going to jump over onto the next shell and start working your next 5 sets of 3 double crochet. What this means is that every time that you complete your 5 sets, you're skipping 1 chain 2 space, the single crochet, the second chain 2 space, and you're putting your hook under the third chain 2 space, and you're starting to work your 5 sets of the granny stitch. Another way to be able to figure out where to start and where to finish on top of every shell is that we start crocheting between the first and second double crochet of every shell. Okay, so on the first chain 2 space, and the last set of 3 double crochet is being worked between the 9th and 10th double crochet out of the 10 that we have on every shell. So the first set is on the first chain 2 space, and the last set is on the last chain 2 space of every shell. Okay. The other way is after you finish your first 5 sets, skip 2 chain 2 spaces. 1, 2, and put your hook under the third, and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2. So we are always chaining 2 after every set of 3 double crochet. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. So again, on top of this shell, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 3 double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to skip 2 chain 2 spaces. 1, the single crochet, the second chain 2 space, and I'm going to put my hook under the third chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. So this is my first set of 3 double crochet. Chain 2, skip the first, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the third, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. So what I'm doing now is I'm crocheting on the big shell, which is the center of my shawl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 5 sets on the right side of the big shawl. I'm going to work the center and 5 sets on the left side of the center. And this is how it's always going to be worked every time you work the first row of the granny stitch. Okay, now chain 2, 1, 2, skip the first chain 2, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets. Chain 2, skip the first, put your hook under the second, and 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. So on my big shell, on the center, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of my 3 double crochet. I am going to chain 2, and I'm going to crochet right in the next chain 2 space to work the corner, the bottom corner of my shawl. And I'm going to work 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 more double crochet under the same chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, and as I did on the right side, now I'm starting to work the first set of the left side, okay, the first set of 5 for the left side of the big shawl. So I'm crocheting as I did over here right in the next chain 2 space. So I'm crocheting in 3 chain 2 spaces in a row once I reach the corner, okay? So in the next chain 2 space, I'm going to work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. Okay, so this was the first out of the 5 sets that I'm going to work on the left side of my big shell. So 5 on the right side corner, 5 on the left side. Once you work your 5th set right over here, you're going to skip 1 chain 2 space, the second chain 2 space, and you're going to start in the 3rd chain 2 space in the next shell over here to work your set of 5 sets of 3 double crochet. Okay, then again you're going to skip 1 chain 2 space, 2 chain 2 spaces, you're going to put your hook in the 3rd chain 2 spaces to work the last 5 sets of 3 double crochet, and we are always crocheting in every second chain 2 space. Once I have worked in my 4th set of 3 double crochet, I'm going to turn my video back on to crochet together the 5th and last set of 3 double crochet together to see how to close the row and how to start the new one. I'm almost done with row number 12. I have crocheted my 4 sets of 3 double crochet on top of the last shell, and now we're going to crochet the last one together. Again, skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook in the second, which is the last as well, and work 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and the 3rd double crochet you're going to work it in the 3rd chain, counting from the bottom to close the row. Okay, now row number 12 is the first row of repetitions, and it's always going to be worked in this way. Now we're going to start row number 13, and all the rest of the rows after the first row of the granny stitch are going to be worked in the same exact way that we're going to work row number 13. So always chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. The 3 chains count as my first double crochet, so I'm going to work 2 more stitches in the first double crochet for this row. 1 and 2. Along with the 3 chains that I worked in the beginning, I have a total of 3 double crochet in the first stitch. Now always chain 2 after every set of 3 and crochet in every chain 2 space. So after the first row of the granny stitch, we always crochet in every chain 2 space. So in the first chain 2 space, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 2. Next chain 2 space, 3 double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 2. 3 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 2. So keep working 3 double crochet in every chain 2 space. Okay. And when I reach the center of my shawl over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the center, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the end of the row as well. I have worked my granny stitch in the whole right side of my shawl, and I've reached the center. The center is where in the previous row we worked 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 double crochet in the same space. So I'm going to do the same exact thing. After I work my 3 double crochet in the chain 2, after this chain 2 space over here, I'm going to put my hook in the chain 2 space right here in the center, and I'm going to work the same exact steps. So 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 more double crochet in the same chain 2 space to keep the corner. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so again we have the center of our shawl in the same exact space. So continue working the granny stitch. So chain 2, 3 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so keep working it for the whole left side of the shawl, and once I've reached the last chain 2 space over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close row number 13, which is the second row with the granny stitch, and then we're going to do the next 5 rows of camera for the granny stitch. I have worked up until the last chain 2 space. Okay, I've worked my chain 2, and now we're going to work the last set of 3. So the last set of 3 double crochet are going to be worked in the same exact way as I started. So I started by working 3 double crochet in the first stitch for the row. So I'm going to finish by working 3 double crochet in the last double crochet for this row, which is the third chain counting from the bottom. Work 3 double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. So this is how our work looks like once we have finished the second row of the granny stitch. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to work 5 more rows of the granny stitch off camera, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. Now every row is going to start in the same exact way we started this row. So we're going to chain 3, turn your work, and work 2 more double crochet in the first stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochet in every chain 2 space. Once you reach the corner over here, you're going to work again 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet in every chain 2 space with a chain 2 space in between of every set of 3 double crochet. And once you reach the end of the row, work your 3 double crochet in the last chain 2 space, chain 2 and 3 double crochet in the last stitch of the row. Okay, Once I finish my 5 more rows of the granny stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue with the repetitions.